shortened it to El-Qadr, since Abd el-Qadr would be sort of a mouthful for an English-speaking person. And that was the way the town got named.
Je pense que l'émirat Abdelkader a été choisi parce que comme les États-Unis combattaient pour leur indépendance eux-mêmes, ils admiraient un homme qui combattait pour l'indépendance de son pays et qui résistait à une des armées les plus puissantes du monde, puisque lui venait de créer une armée de briques et de broc, et en face il y avait une armée structurée, une armée napoléonienne qui avait conquis toute l'Europe et qui était allée jusqu'à Moscou.
الفرضية هي أن اختيار هؤلاء الأمريكيين لتسمية هذه المدينة القادر c'est un hommage à الامير عبد القادر، وفاء للامير عبد القادر، لا الشخص وإنما الرمز. لأنه الامير عبد القادر، لأن هؤلاء لم يكونوا ينظرون إلى الامير العسكري البطولي الفارس بقدر ما كانوا ينظرون إلى الامير الإنسان. et c'est cet aspect-là أو هذا الجانب الإنساني في شخصية الأمير والذي تجلى خاصة أثناء فترة المقاومة ضد الفرنسيين في معاملته للأسرى، والتي شهد له بها الأسرى أنفسهم من خلال الكتابات نتاعهم.
كان الأمير عبد القادر يكتسب شهرة عالمية. مؤسسو المدينة كانوا معجبين به للغاية كمدافع عن الحرية وكفيلسوف، لذا قاموا بتسمية المدينة باسمه. اعتبر الأمير عبد القادر من الرجال العظماء القلائل لعدة أسباب، من بينها الشجاعة الأخلاقية وكذلك رغبته في القيام بالأمر الصائب حتى لو كان أمراً غير متعارف عليه من قبل مواطنيه. وكان عبد القادر يتمتع بعدد من المواهب والمهارات والقدرات، حيث كان مقاتلاً عظيماً وعالماً جليلاً.
He was extremely charming when he wanted to be. He was a man of many different qualities. He could combine severity with compassion. He played many different roles, and he knew how to play them differently and to play them well. So sometimes he seemed to be a contradictory person, but when he was a warrior, he had to act like a warrior, and when he was a scholar, he acted like a scholar, and when he was a prisoner, he acted in a way as a warrior too, but in a different kind of battle, a psychological battle with the French, in which he always maintained his dignity and never became a kind of whining, suffering prisoner in the eyes of the public.
The Algerians were fighting the French to gain their independence, and the Emir was, the George Washington of Algeria, and I think that's important. And, America, if you look at the history of the United States, we love to see people move toward democracy. I mean, that's what's happening in the world right now, and I think you go back into the 1800s, we saw people trying to move toward a democratic state.
قام صف التخرج في مدرسة القادر لعام 1915 بنشر قصة قصيرة حول تسمية القادر، وكذلك نشر خلفية عن عبد القادر كان عنوانها الشيخ.
The Al-Qadr graduating class wrote a little article about the sheikh, and that's the first written documentation that we have that was referring to Abd el-Qadr, and it was very flattering to him, and Al-Qadr was very honored to be named after him.
As an American, the fact that Al-Qadr is named after an Arab Muslim, I think makes it a special place, but I think it also It allows a discussion about Muslims and Islam and Arabs in America. It allows that discussion in a way that it encourages people to ask questions about why is the town of Al-Qadr named after an Arab? Why is it named after a Muslim? Our connection through Abdul Qadir, through his name, I think is a great basis for a friendship.
My opinion of our community being named after an Algerian, to be named Al-Qadr, I'm very, very proud of that. I enjoy very much visiting with people, and when they ask me where I live and I tell them I live in Al-Qadr, Iowa, a little town in northeast Iowa, they look puzzled and often ask, Al-Qadr, that's an unusual name. And when I say it's named after an Algerian freedom fighter, I get mixed reactions. Some people just kind of leave it there because they don't quite understand the thrill of being named after the George Washington of Algeria, if you will. And when I share that information, they become more intrigued and find it very fascinating as well.
Une très grande fierté de trouver une ville, une toute petite ville au milieu des États-Unis qui porte le nom de notre héros national.
بدأت علاقة المدينة الشقيقة بين مدينتي القادر ومعسكر عام 1979 عندما اتصل كادر وكالة المعلومات الخاص بالولايات المتحدة بدونا مينكن محررة التسجيل في كلايتون كاونتي بمدينة القادر يستفسر عن كيفية تسمية القادر. ثم قامت السيدة مينكن بتقديم القصة إلى وكالة المعلومات الخاصة بالولايات المتحدة، ومن ثم تم نشرها في المجلة العربية للوكالة المسماة بالمجال.
Donna Mencken was what we would call a society editor, and she would take information of activities in town, put them in a form that we could publish. Part of our job as editors is to keep people informed as to what's coming and what's happened. She later became the editor of the paper and was writing feature stories and news stories.
When the article was written in 1979, I was approached, actually commissioned, by a person who worked, his name was George Hishmay, who was at the United States Information Agency in Washington, D.C. He apparently stumbled across this fact that Al-Qadr was the only town in the United States named after a Muslim. And so he contacted the newspaper looking for the editor. And my receptionist gave me the information. I had a handful of little pieces of paper she wrote notes on. And through that, we contacted by phone, and he actually commissioned me to write the story about how Al-Qadr was named. This is the building that housed the Clayton County Register when I was, back in 1979, when I wrote the story about the naming of the community of Al-Qadr. The information I gained to write the story was from mostly a lot of it from the Al-Qadr Library. It was a historical research project because obviously 100 and some years later there was nobody around to ask specifically.
بعد عدة سنوات وجد ابن عمر زرقاوي مواطن من مدينة معسكر يعمل في السفارة الأمريكية في الجزائر مقال مينكن في المجال فقام بزيارة مدينة القادر.
Omar Zagawi came to Al-Qadr in June of 1983, spent a week with us. And we wined and dined him from the day he landed, when we all met him in a chartered bus, until we took him back to Cedar Rapids. And he made the suggestion about why shouldn't we do a sister city between القادر and Mascara.
تقدمت مدينة القادر بطلب انتساب لبرنامج المدينة الشقيقة العالمي، وأرسلت الدعوة والقرار إلى مدينة معسكر عام 1983، وقامت الحكومة الجزائرية على إثرها بالمصادقة على التوأمة بين القادر ومعسكر عام 1984.
It's people-to-people diplomacy, and that's one of their slogans, the Sister City International slogan. It fosters understanding between countries and peoples because it's, as I say, it's people-to-people. It knocks down any preconceived notions you might have about a country because you're talking to the people who live there. The people have same kinds of interests and desires and wants that we do. And that's the beauty of the program.
The Sister Cities program was initiated. It took some time.
Yeah.
I wasn't real active with that. Ed Olson was the spark plug on that, all of that. When it was time to dedicate the program, we sent a delegation of, I believe, 10 people, including my parents, to Mascara.
And we left on the 19th of January. We spent a day in Washington being briefed by our government, and then we flew to Paris, from Paris to Iran, and we were met in Iran by the delegation of officials from Mascara.
وصل بتاريخ 19 جانفي عام 1984 10 مواطنين من مدينة القادر إلى مدينة معسكر، ووقع عمدة مدينة القادر إد أولسون وعمدة مدينة معسكر محمد خالدي الوثائق المشتركة بتاريخ 25 جانفي 1984.
They were treated very well. They came back very impressed with the community, with the people, with the culture.
The trip there was magical. I mean, we were treated like royalty. It was a little different, almost a little scary because it's so foreign to us here, and but it was just a marvelous trip. We learned a lot about the country, a lot about the people, and a lot about their hopes and aspirations. It was quite a trip.
Well, we were treated like royalty. We traveled around in little cars with the sirens going every place we went. We had police escorts wherever we went, and we were treated very much as very important people.
Becoming a sister city, I think, was very important during the Ed Olson administration as mayor. And I think it was one of those things where Ed was a visionary. He looked to the future. He looked to see that there are things that we can expand القادر on, expand the knowledge of القادر, and I think that sister city relationship has really helped with that.
This was the gift from the brother of the president of Algeria, who was the Wali of Mascara, and it was given to us, given to me after we had signed, or Ed had signed the proclamation. You think that's gold? It's tinfoil.
I was invited to go to Algeria to speak to a group over there, a Congress over there. But financial reasons and the job that I have in the summertime prevented me from doing that. So Keith and Kathy went over and represented me. Kathy was president of the Sister Cities organization at that time. And after the flood, we were cleaning up. I mentioned something to Kathy that maybe you should just let your contacts in Algeria know that we've had this major disaster. You know, just letting them know that Al-Qaeda's had a problem here.
بعد الفيضانات المدمرة التي ضربت مدينة القادر عام 2008 أرسل الرئيس الجزائري عبد العزيز بوتفليقة إعانة مالية لسكان القادر مقدارها $150,000 معبراً عن تضامن ودعم الشعب الجزائري لبلدة وشعب القادر.
Al-Qadir, it's a very unique community. It's one of those towns that refuses to die on the vine. I mean, refuses. They are very aggressive in promoting the community, and I think that having a connection to this foreign country and the foreign people has caused it to grow. It's just a unique place and filled with unique people who see the value of living in that community.
وإحنا من خلال هذا العمل هذا نريد أن يكون فيه تآخي أكثر بين الشعبين، الشعب الامريكي والشعب الجزائري، حيث ربما ان الشعبين يتقاسموا كثير من الاشياء التي ربما تخلي العلاقه تاع الشعبين ترقى وتسمو الى ابعد من ذلك.
الواقع التوأمة التي حصلت بين مدينة القادر ومدينة معسكر كانت متبوعة بخطوات، كانت وقعت زيارات بين مسؤولين من معسكر إلى القادر ومن القادر إلى معسكر، لكن لم ينجم عن ذلك أي شيء حقيقة ملموس. يمكن أن تكون مشاريع ثقافية، تكون حتى مشاريع اقتصادية، مشاريع أيضا فيما يخص ميدان التربية. هناك أمور من الممكن القيام بها والتي لا تكلف الكثير يعني ماليا، لكن بطبيعة الحال الأمر يعود إلى بلدية معسكر وإلى بلدية القادر. الحكومة بإمكانها أن تؤيد، لكن المبادرة والمشاريع لا بد أن تكون نابعة وصادرة من البلديتين.
الأهمية نتاع هذه التوأمة بين البلدين عظيمة جدا، لأن تعطي صدى كبير للامير عبد القادر أولا، للجزائر ولمعسكر خاصة. هذا في إطار الاحتكاك مع الغير، وفي إطار كذلك الانفتاح على الغير وعلى التسامح وعلى السلم اللي كان ينادي به